Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch Transfer Roundup. So I don't expect a lot of people would be expecting a double bill of the Transfer Roundup 2 days in a row. But hey, you know, this is the Overwatch League off season and stuff gets thrown at us pretty darn bloody quickly. So we have all outs in this Transfer Roundup and they are all Overwatch League apart from one. So yeah, I had to fit this in because basically some of these came in a couple of hours after I finished recording the last one and I couldn't add them in. So yeah, this is what happens. But anyway, we're going to start off at the Florida Mayhem. So remember Sire Player? Sire Player was the shining light on the old Florida Mayhem. And he was a really, really great hit scan player. He was fantastic. And now, well, yeah, he's not been active for the Florida Mayhem this season. They've been relying on BQB and Yaki. It's gone very well for them. Sire Player has been having health issues, I know that. But that seems to have gone now. But he was inactive at the Florida Mayhem. He's now been released entirely from the Florida Mayhem. Now, the interesting thing about this is he is not actually having his medical issues anymore. He is moving over to Valorant. He's also changing his name. I can't remember exactly what his name was. Was it Cypher or something like that? He's changed his name as well, so he's no longer Sire Player. But he won't be in Overwatch anymore. He is not just inactive, he's retired. He is moving over to Valorant, and I wish him all the best over there. The only non-Overwatch League movement we're looking at is Morsey, the British tank player. He's retiring. He was unassigned. He's now retiring. I wish him all the best in his future endeavors outside of Overwatch. Now we move back to the Florida Mayhem, though. So this is where it gets interesting. This is 3 players, 2 of which we have seen for the Florida Mayhem pretty heavily this season. So Carrion is the tank player. Carrion, pretty inactive for the Florida Mayhem. We haven't seen him. It's been Fate and Gargoyle for Florida all season. No surprises that Carrion is being let go and he will no longer be assigned. But then it's 2 support players. This is Byram, who we've seen a lot of for the Florida Mayhem this season, mainly on the Brig or the Zen, I believe. I think I'm getting that right. And then Chris, who has been the mainstay Lucio player for the Florida Mayhem this season. This forces the Mayhem's hand. They have clearly been speaking to a support player, because this leaves them with Gangnam Jin, and Gangnam Jin is not going to cut it on his own. Quite obviously, they are obviously talking to some sort of main support. Now, there are possibilities for the Florida Mayhem. There's Sanguinar of the London Spitfire, who we know may be on the move, considering London are going to make a lot of changes. London coming up a little bit later in this video. And there is the possibility, now this is a very, very long shot, Lee Jae-gon. Now, Lee Jae-gon didn't have the perfect display for the Shanghai Dragons in the Grand Finals. Is it possible that the Shanghai Dragons go and pick up a new support duo and let Lee Jae-gon go? In that case, the perfect pickup for Florida Mayhem would be Lee Jae-gon, reuniting him alongside Yaki and Gangnam Jin, who were all at Runaway together. And Kuki was there as well, who coaches the Florida Mayhem. So it would be a very big thing to bring them all together, but all of those players leaving Florida Mayhem are going to be unassigned, and I wish them all the best for the future. But now, we move over to the Houston Outlaws. Now, Houston Outlaws, big clear out going on here. First of all, I want to mention the coach. So Dream, the American coach, is leaving his assistant coach role at the Houston Outlaws and will no longer be assigned. We wish him all the best. This is a change, obviously, up in the Houston Outlaws. This is no surprise, and you know, I'm expecting changes at the Outlaws. I'm expecting it. They didn't have the best of times, did they? But this is when we come to the players, right? So tank player, American tank player Muma, he's out. Now, this is no surprise. We saw Muma get dropped for hydration on main tank. Muma had a torrid season. This is no surprise that the Houston Outlaws are going to move Muma on. He is ex-World Cup with America. So it is a rough time for Muma, and I think he's going to struggle to find another Overwatch League team, to be quite honest with you. His season has been torrid, and I would be surprised to see him drop down to Contenders, if not just leave Overwatch. And then we have the American DPS player Blase. This is interesting. I thought they might keep hold of Blase. It'd be interesting to see if he gets another league team. Again, I think that's if. I don't think that's definite, to be quite honest with you. And then this is the interesting one. The mainstay of the hit scan at Houston Outlaws, the Finnish DPS player Glister. So Glister, he's been in and out, depending on the meta. Glister is a player, in my opinion, that can blow very hot and cold. But I think he's a player that has a very good chance of getting another Overwatch League team. It all depends on what some of the other teams do. Boston, I'm expecting to go all Korean, so I don't think he's going to end up there. But there are teams like Toronto Defiant, although they have Logics, or possibly the London Spitfire. If they go all European or go mixed, again, we're going to talk about them in a minute, he could end up there. Considering the London Spitfire, if they promote British Hurricane, won't have a hitscan DPS player because Sparker will not be old enough. So, there is a possibility that they bring in Glister for that season to fill that role. It is, again, me presuming and me assuming, but it is a possibility. So I'm just going to put that out there. And lastly, for the Houston Outlaws, and this one is a surprising one, this is Jexa, the support. Now, he is out of the Outlaws and no longer signed. This is a weird move. This is a weird move. And I don't know whether this is Jexa saying he doesn't want to renew his contract or whether the Outlaws have just got rid of him. It is an odd move that the Outlaws would boot out Jexa, who I think has been one of their best players this season. Honestly has been. He's been a really good main support and I expect him to find another team in this league. I could see him going to the Washington Justice, I could see him going to the Florida Mayhem. There are teams I'm sure that would want Jexa. He is a really good main support, he's a really good Lucio, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't find another opportunity in the Overwatch League to prove his worth. Now, we come to London. So, London. We talked about London a little while ago, the rumours around them letting go of their entire roster. They then let go of their entire coaching staff. So, the assumption is London are going all European and they're going to promote British Hurricane, who are doing wonders in EU Contenders and are currently unbeaten for 2020, including a Contenders title and monthly tournament titles since then. So, this is London starting to clear out of the players, but this is not London releasing all 12 players, which is very interesting. So, they are letting go of Krillin and Hailey, their two flex supports, Celestin and Jihan, the off-tank and the main tank. Now, I think Celestin was actually pretty good during this season, so I think he deserves another shot at Owl. Jihan, we didn't really see enough of him, but when he was in on the ball, he looked good. But apart from that, he did look decent on the Orisa, actually. I liked his Orisa. He was more aggressive than JMac, which was great. Shui, Babel, and Although are the DPS going out right now. And to be quite honest, I don't think any DPS has been utterly trash for London this season. I'd like to see Babel given another chance. I liked his Widowmaker playstyle. He was passive, and it called a lot of people out. So I'd like to see Babel given another go. Shui... he could give it another go. He has runaway pedigree, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of these people get picked up by someone like Boston if they go all Korean. With Laurie as their head coach now, I could see Boston going for a mix of like ex-London players and WGS Phoenix players. I could see that happening, but anyway. So those are the names going out of London. You'll notice there are some significant ones missing. So we're talking about Glister, we are talking about Banar, we are talking about Fuse, we are talking about Sanguinar, and we're talking about JMac. All of these players are still currently with London. Now this is interesting. What does this mean for London Spitfire? Well, it could mean one of two things. Either, I think this means one of two things. Otherwise, if they were just being released from their contract, they would have been released alongside these guys. But they haven't. So, it could either mean, one, they have found other teams and are going to be transferred. If that is the case, it would be interesting. Now, the other thing is, and I theorized this when I saw the announcement, London went to the group of players and they said, will you play in a mixed roster? And they either said yes or no. If they said no, they're out. Now, maybe this is what these guys said. Remember that all of these guys have played on Korean-only rosters. Funny fact, Fuse and Banar are still there. Fuse and Banar played on Fusion University, which was a mixed roster, and they had a massive amount of success. So, there is that possibility that they said yes to the mixed roster, and Banar and Fuse will be staying at the Spitfire. What's weird about that, Sanguinar has never done that, but Sanguinar may want to stay and develop that. Same with JMac. Although, I think JMac was on a mixed Korean and Chinese roster with his time at the Chengdu Academy LG Huya, but that team doesn't exist anymore. The weird one is Glister. Glister has always been in Korea. He was part of Gen G. Funny thing though, when this was announced, Glister put out a tweet, and it was just a pair of eyes, right? And that always gets people wondering. You know, San Francisco Shop were doing it as a troll the other day. But JMac replied to this with the picture, with the emote, and it was an emote of a tiger. And then he deleted it very quickly afterwards. So, I think we can assume right now that Glister may be transferring to the Seoul dynasty, which will be very interesting. And it's something I thought might happen. I think Seoul may need an extra DPS player. Glister was one of the shining lights of this London Spitfire roster. Glister has connections to the Seoul dynasty. He was part of Gen G before he joined up with the Spitfire. And I believe it may have been some sort of deal with him going to Spitfire alongside Hiley and some of the Gen A, Bs and all that. They came into London, and then we saw Profit and Gesture going the other way and Badosin in the end as well. So I reckon we can be pretty confident right now to expect Seoul Dynasty signing Glister from the London Spitfire. I'm not surprised. I think Glister would be very hard to keep hold of considering his performance this season. Then it comes to the other guys. We don't know yet. It looked like Sanguine. I didn't even know that this was going to happen, which is odd. I would not be surprised if Fuse and Banar stayed at London. I don't think they've been bad. I think Banar has actually been darn good. And they can play on a mixed roster. So if they do stay, that would be a big boost for London. Also, it adds depth to their squad. And yeah, we are still waiting on things. I don't want to see JMac stay. I don't think JMac has been good enough for London this season. But again, we don't know what they have planned. They may have another main tank coming in, and then they're just going to permabench JMac or develop him in the future. We don't know what's going on with London. There is still a lot up in the air. They have 5 players remaining. Glister, Banar, Fuse, Sanguinar, and obviously JMac. Now, we will see what they do going forward. It's going to be an interesting one, but yeah, it's happening at London. They are the team with the biggest moves right now, and there are some massive shakeups going on. When we're looking at Mayhem, we're looking at Outlaws, we're looking at London, we're looking possibly at the Gladiators as well, having big shakeups. Boston, there are some massive shakeups going on in this offseason, so it's going to be very, very active, and it's very, very interesting, and I can't wait to see what these new rosters are going to be like. But last of all, we have a movement of the San Francisco Shock. Yes, it's not Moss. Before you get your in a twist. It is the American coach Junk Buck. He will be leaving his assistant coach role at the San Francisco Shock, and he will be no longer assigned. I am assuming he is no longer assigned because he is going to another team. I can't imagine he's just leaving and not being assigned. He would either leave and retire because he doesn't want to do any more Overwatch, or he's leaving to go to another team. Maybe he has been offered the head coach role at another team, and he wishes to take over there. There are possibilities for that, and there would be a pretty price to pay for someone like Junkbuck and his resume now that he's had with the San Francisco Shock, 2 titles and all that, and obviously coaching under Krusty, which comes with its own very established resume. So I expect him to go to somewhere in the league. I'd be very surprised if he didn't, or he goes to somewhere outside of Overwatch. What teams would they'd have to pay for him? So it has to be a team with a lot of backing. Maybe Dallas. Maybe Dallas have paid out big bucks for him. London could do, but I doubt Cloud9's willingness to invest in Overwatch League right now. So I would rule London out, or make them very rank outsiders. But someone like Dallas, maybe if Atlanta Reign wanted to have a shake-up in their coaching, somewhere like that, maybe he's gone there to be a head coach. That's what I'm saying right now. We don't know anything. This is me making some predictions, shall we say. But I'm going to leave it here for this one. Funny how this has been all over Overwatch League, and this was longer than the last roundup. Anyway, it won't be a transfer roundup tomorrow because there won't be enough to talk about. But these will be coming at you regularly, probably for the next period of time, because obviously there's going to be a lot of moves going on, as we've seen in literally just a day. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.